Hi everybody, welcome back to a new video, and this is a continuation in the many Vlogmas videos, except this one has a little bit more purpose than some of the other ones have been just a little bit all over the place. If you guys don't know me, my name is Carrie. I run Traveling Pony Studios, which is a small crochet business, and I am not full-time, but I do spend a lot of time on this little crochet business, and right now I am in the process of working on my mini Christmas orders. I'm trying to think of, I don't think I have like fully finished anything from the last video, but if you are interested in seeing some of the things I have done so far, make sure to look through some of the videos because I've been kind of posting as I go along, like the days, things. I mean, right now I'm working on finishing up a fox, so I should be done with it tomorrow, but I'm not done with it tonight, and I wanted to come on here and of course record this video because I got a little bit behind, because if you haven't been following along on the vlogs, I had a new horse move in today, which that took up like 4 or 5 hours of my day that I really didn't have to give up, but we're gonna do what we can with that and move on. So what I wanted to come on here is I have been asked a few times about some of the patterns that sell really well for me at markets. I am by no means going to be able to go over everything in this particular video, so I apologize for that, but I figured this can be part one and maybe we can kind of make it a little bit of a series about some of the items. Now, I am going to mainly talk about smaller items, and when I mean smaller items, I'm going to say, like, if I'm looking over here, it's because I'm looking at my boxes. But when I'm talking about smaller items, I think we're first going to start off with items that are probably like 25 and under, I feel like is appropriate. And a lot of my small items fall in that. I mean, I feel like once I get above 25 and sometimes even like that 25 mark, there is a difference in how many I sell. And of course, I want to preface this by saying if you're doing markets, just know literally every single market you do is going to be different. Prime example of this, there's a particular unicorn Pegasus that I do, and every single market this year I have sold out of them. They are the first things to go. It's the cream and gold and then the pink and purple variation that I do. I literally sell out of them right away. This past market I did, which is my last market of the year, I think I did about like 6 to 8 markets for this overall like year. Can't remember. I'm gonna figure it out because I'm gonna do a video just about like what I learned with the markets and everything, and I'm gonna try and record overviews for the past 2 markets because I realized I haven't done that yet, but I need to sit down and calculate some stuff and like write things out. But literally, after all those markets, I literally have sold them right away. They are a little bit more of an expensive item. I have them at 35, but that's because of the amount of sewing. Really, I should have them higher because it is so much sewing. But this past market I did, I sold 0. I don't think I've been to a market where I like literally haven't sold one of them. Let alone like none. So I was shocked. And so when I talk about these patterns that maybe sell better for me, and I might mention a few that don't sell super well, I just think it's important to like take that and just realize like just because one thing sells well for one person doesn't mean it's going to sell well for everybody. And also, of course, you just have to look about like where you are in the world. There's some things that would sell super well for me just in my like location that probably wouldn't sell well for somebody who's like up north or like somebody in California. An example of that might be something with like football, because football is like super big in the South, of course. So items like the little mini tiger sometimes sell super well for me, the little elephants, the bees that I've done before, and then I get asked all the time about a bulldog. Haven't figured that out quite yet, but that's what I'm saying. Things like that would probably sell super well here, and like deers and just anything involving hunting, because of course the South, everybody's really big into hunting. That might not sell super well like if I was up north in like, I don't know, New York or Washington, or if I was in California, like things might not carry over. So just take that in mind as I talk about some of these things. I'm actually gonna pull up really quickly my own pattern list. So let's get this out, and right ahead, just know all of the patterns I'm talking about should be in the pattern list and my description. So please don't ask. I'm gonna only talk about the ones that are on this pattern list, so that way it should be super easy for everybody to kind of like know where everything is. Like I said, I'm not gonna go over the big items, so this might include things like Crochet Grove patterns. This would include anything that is like above, like I said, 25 probably. We're gonna focus on the small ones first. There's actually a ton of big patterns that I did this past year that I'm just not gonna do again because really they did not sell. And it's not really worth it for me, but at the same time, I feel like big patterns are so hard. I don't think you're not gonna move them as much as small items, so sometimes I'm like, is it even fair to compare them? Because like, of course, most people are willing to spend $15 or $10 on an item versus you're gonna have like probably 1 out of 10 people would maybe consider spending $50. Like it, so I'm not quite certain how fair it is to even compare that. But let us begin. So one of my best sellers, I would say, kind of consistently, and I'm gonna also say over markets and then the 4 stores and everything, I would probably say my turtle. So if you're interested in this turtle, this would be on the second page of the pattern doc, and it's kind of like at the top. So I actually got this pattern off of Ribbler. It's been so long, I honestly can't remember if I paid for it, if it was free. I can't tell you that, but I did get it off Ribbler. And this is just like a good standard turtle pattern. I mean, turtles sell consistently well. It's not the biggest turtle out there, so I don't have to like price it too crazy. And the only thing you have to sew in particular with this pattern is the head onto the body. Everything else is crocheted in, which is super nice and definitely helps like relieve any headaches. With this being said, turtles are just like such a common item. So do keep that in mind. Like there are some markets I go to and I won't sell that many turtles. And then there's some markets I'll sell a couple more, and sometimes they sell like a little better in stores. But if there's other crochet people, 9 out of 10 they're gonna have turtles. That's why I'm not gonna even mention patterns like leggy frogs, the standard bee, like none of that type stuff. I'm actually kind of scaling out of doing patterns like that. Like you'll see at the beginning of the year, I did the loaf cats and everything, and loaf cats were super popular, and I sold for like 1 or 2 markets a ton of loaf cats. Now I am like stuck with these dang loaf cats, and really the big thing is they just became so popular that the market is so oversaturated that I just don't see the point in selling it. Like I feel like one of my main appeals for my particular tent and one of my main goals is to have such a big variety of items that I can kind of cater to every single person. So for me and kind of my business, it doesn't really make sense for me to make what I'm gonna consider like a generic kind of overdone pattern when if somebody wants a leggy frog or someone wants a loaf cat, I'm confident that the other crochet vendors will either have those items or something similar. Like I'm considering doing frogs next year. I've considered adding frogs this year, but I want it to be like a legit frog. Like I don't want a leggy frog. So it's like I'll do similar animals, but I try and really pick patterns that are kind of like out of left field and don't look like it. Now granted, I say this, turtles, you can't go that crazy unless you're gonna do like specialized turtles. Like one year I did like the gingerbread turtles, I've done the sunflower turtles, but they don't move as well. Like I feel like because they're so specialized, you really have to have a person that's like really into that. And like for say they have to really like sunflowers and turtles. Or for the gingerbread ones I've done, they have to like Christmas and turtles. Versus just the generic turtle, it's you just have to like a turtle. Like it's so generic that most people would like it. So turtles are, I would say, one of the better selling ones. I'm gonna throw out some that I would not say are my best selling, but that I have made. The pop-up mushrooms. They're just, it's so, I might sell 2 at a market. They're kind of iffy. I don't do leggy frogs anymore, but I do have the leggy frog, of course, on the Google Doc that I did before. And then whales are a really catch-22 thing. Like, I would not say it is one of my best selling small items by any means. And then what I would say is, let me make sure this is the right one. I would say I have it under birds right beneath leggy frog on my like link thing. The bird pattern by Haru Crochet is something that I do use quite frequently and something that does move quite frequently in my stock. So that one, I believe, includes the mallard, rooster, and chick. There is another bird crochet pattern bundle that she does that I think includes a lot more like variety of birds, but they're all kind of the similar shape. And I try and go for like the generic ones in terms of like, because I do live in the South, everyone has farms. Like, it's not uncommon for somebody that lives in like a neighborhood to like sneak in a few chickens. Like, chickens are really popular. There's a ton of people who hunt. So like mallard ducks are super popular with people who hunt. So pretty much that bird pattern, those set 3, the chicken, the rooster, and the mallard duck are just the really ones that I feel like I need. I used them, I think, from the beginning. So like when I first started doing like markets, and I'll continue doing them. So if I'm still doing a pattern a year and a half later, I feel like it must be good enough for me to still feel like it's worth it, because I drop patterns if I feel like it's just like a waste of my time. Like, I'll make it once and I'm done. So that bird pattern is really good. And then the one beneath it, which is the possum, and I believe this one is by Crochet by Jenna. Now granted, both of these patterns I'm giving Ribbler links to. I'm pretty certain that both of these patterns are on Etsy. You would just have to look at their ID on Etsy. I just got them off Ribbler because they use Ribbler as well, and I think generally some patterns are cheaper on Ribbler than Etsy. So some things I do buy on Ribbler, and then some patterns are on Ribbler and I can't find them on Etsy. So it's like, that's how it is. So the Possum by Crochet by Jenna is another one I use. I have been using it, same thing like the bird pattern, for a year and a half. It consistently sells well, and it's also one of my cheaper items. I have it at like $12. And so it's definitely good to have a cheap item like that. People are pretty drawn to it, and I would say between the markets and the stores, they do move pretty well. This past market, I didn't move a lot of them, but at the same time, we are treading into the territory of a lot of people do possums. Every single person has a different pattern, a different style, a different price point. So that's just something to think about. But I do this pattern. I'll probably continue to do this pattern. I don't have any intention to stop using this pattern for my markets and stores. So that's another one that I would potentially recommend. The next one I would recommend is also from Haru Crochet. It is the No Sew Fluff Ball bundle. I got the most expensive bundle. I want to say it was like $30 something. Don't quote me. I could be wrong. I'm guessing off the top of my head, because I feel like I've talked about this bundle so many times over these what I crocheted in a week videos, because everyone's got to ask me. So that includes like the little mini tigers I do, the little mini elephants, pandas, triceratops. I'm trying to think of what other ones I've done from that particular pattern, but that does include all of those. I definitely think it's worth it to buy the large pattern. Now, I definitely want to preface this by saying the way these move at markets aren't great for me, but I think the pattern is worth it, like the bundle. And I definitely think there's a lot of possibilities. I don't do all of the patterns on that bundle just because, quite frankly, I don't really want to do them all, and they're kind of a similar style, kind of similar shape. I try and have like a variety of styles, heights, shapes, all that type stuff. But the ones I do, like I said, it's mainly tigers, triceratops, elephant, and then panda. I think it's got like a possum. It's got another dinosaur. I think it's got a hedgehog, like things like that. So it's definitely well worth it in my opinion. The tiger, the elephant, it's hard. It's like they sell for college football stuff, but I think my last market, I don't even think I sold a single elephant or tiger, honestly. I ended up giving them to stores. So they don't move super well. They don't move horrible, if that makes sense. Like, I still think it's very much worth it to experiment and try this particular pattern. As I'm looking through my little pattern bundle, the stingray that I've talked about before, not really a good one in my opinion. For me at least, it doesn't really sell that well at all. I have so many stingrays. They sit the longest at the stores. Take that as you will. Scrolling down onto, what is this, like my third page. The baby flamingo is something that I think has gained some popularity with my items. I originally sold zip, like I could not move them when I first made them. Then I started bringing them to stores and they started selling more at stores, and then they've been pretty consistently selling at stores. And honestly, this last market I did was like the first time I've ever sold a lot of them. I was shocked, like I just can never move them. So I sold 3 and I brought 3, which was great. And I know like I have another store that needs one. I just haven't been able to make it because I've been crocheting so many customs. But that's another one that I feel like could very well be worth it. I sell them at 25, and the great thing about it is no sew. So for a market make, can definitely be worth it. I don't do like, I think the pattern comes with like a headband. I personally don't do the headband just because it's like another thing, and so then I have to charge a little bit extra. As I always tell people, really with like my market setup, like I was just talking to someone about this like the other day. When it comes to my market setup, I think a little bit more about like keeping items kind of, I don't want to say generic because they're not generic, but just kind of like neutral. Anybody would like this item. When it comes to adding things like a lot of personality to a piece, or like trying different yarns, experimenting more, for me personally, tend to leave that up to a lot more of a custom side of things, just because I know, like I said, like if I have a turtle, I know a generic turtle that isn't like, has a crazy personality or any particularly thing that kind of makes it super stand out. Like I know a lot of people are gonna like that turtle. I don't know if a lot of people are gonna like something that is specialized or has like a ton of personality to it. Some people will, but for me, because I only have so much time to do this and I'm doing so much of it, I can't really take a gamble with my time. Like I only have so many hours to crochet a day, and because of the fact that I do the horses, sometimes I come into a day thinking I'm gonna have 6 hours to crochet, and then like next thing I know, a horse is sick, or next thing I know, it's raining all day and things are flooding and I've got to take care of that. And then it's like my 6 to 8 hours drastically cuts down to like 2 or 4, and it doesn't change what I have to do. I just run out of time, and there's never a day to catch up because unlike like a normal 9 to 5 job, there's never a day off. This is literally 365 days a year, rain, snow, freezing cold temps, it doesn't matter. So I never have this catch-up time. So I do keep items to the point where I'm like, okay, look, I know this is gonna sell. I'm not gonna go add any crazy like headbands or any crazy felt eyes that maybe give it a little bit more oomph, just because I don't know if that's gonna necessarily move. And particularly with doing stores, they like consistency across items. So if you bring in one item, you better know that you're going to be able to continue to make that item exactly the same, continuing on, at least with the stores that I do, because everything is like categorized. They keep it all where they're like, okay, we want this in stock, this in stock, this in stock. Like they have people coming back for this particular item in this particular style. So I personally don't like to necessarily make anything too crazy to the point where it's like super difficult for me to remake it and make it possibly, you know, multiple times a week at sometimes, where I'm having to like constantly restock and then make it for markets and restock. So it's just, that's just how my mind is with stuff. A lot of people might not be that way, and that is 100% okay. The other one that I probably would say sells super well from what I'm just looking at on my sheet. There are a few items that like I don't really want to say sell super well just because they don't, or like I don't have enough experience with them. Ladybug is a great example. I think one market I sold two. I haven't been able to sell one since. Sloths, hit or miss. Like sometimes I sell them at markets, sometimes I can't. Sometimes they really don't sell well at stores. And then another would be like, I made all of these patterns. I made lions, and I made elephants in different styles, and I'm trying to think what other, oh, I made like a hippo, or like, it was a hippo? Something. I can't remember. It was gray. Oh my gosh. But I made koalas. Sorry, I made a koala. That's right. Did all of these things. Good price. Super cute to me, I guess. And they didn't sell at all. But granted, that was like my first market bringing them, so I really can't give my opinion on it because like I feel like I need a couple markets, and even then, like I said, you can have a great market, you can have a horrible market. I can't. Girl, if I could figure out what these people think in these markets, I wouldn't be sitting here questioning my life all the time. I think my last one that I would recommend from my particular list, and this list is constantly changing, guys. I am constantly doing new patterns. I'm constantly trying new things. Granted, right now I am like custom mode, so it's not that much of trying like new market prep items per se, but like I feel like I add 5 to 15 new patterns every single market. My list constantly grows. My list constantly changes of patterns that I think are worth doing. But the last one I would recommend, which is on page 3, would be my squids. The squid, I'm trying to see, I got it off Etsy. It is no-sew, which is great. I think I've had somebody before who asked me about the tentacles. I think for like the squid, for me to do it, it is like, typically it takes me like anywhere from like an hour to an hour and a half. It just depends on how I'm crocheting that day, to be honest. But this is really funny because like when I first had it, it didn't sell super well, and it's really hit or miss, but I do think it's consistent, and I do think that every single market I go to, I at least sell one, and they sell really well at stores, which is always surprising to me, but they do sell well. So that's kind of like another thing that I'm like, okay, well, it translates well over to stores. People really like it, and I think if you could do it with like embroidery eyes, something baby safe, it would be even better because of the tentacles. People are really big in the tentacles with babies so they can pull them. I don't do octopus anymore just because I don't want to do octopus. That was like when I was first starting out. I did them all the time. I'm past the octopus point. So I do lean a little bit more into the squids to have that factor if somebody's looking for like the tentacles to play with, that type stuff. But I do think the squids would be one I recommend. If you do it, I would recommend doing like a blue. Probably like the color that sells best for me is like my royal blue, or it's like blue bird, maybe something from Sweet Snuggles Light. I can't remember. But that is the color that sells the best. And then as of recently, purple has been selling super well. That's like the turtles, the weirdest colors sell the best. Like sometimes I'll sell tons of pink turtles and tons of purple turtles. Not green turtles or blue turtles, which never makes sense to me, but like I said, I can't figure people out. Like I can't even figure myself out half the time. Like what am I expected to be a miracle worker? I can't figure people out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Very short, very sweet. I get asked a good deal, and I'm certain this will change. And of course, these are not all of the items due. I'm just trying to keep them like a little bit more on the cheaper side, opposed to some of the more expensive items I do. There are a lot of items that I'm planning on not continuing into next year, and there's a lot of things I'm planning on picking up or trying. It's a constant change, and I feel like one of the best things you can do for your business if you're doing crochet and you're doing markets is change. Don't get stagnant in your business and your patterns. I can't tell you how many repeat customers I have. And I'm not talking like repeat, oh, I see you once or twice a year. I'm talking like 5, 6 times a year. I have people who follow me to every single market I do, even if I'm not close to them. Like, I have had somebody drive an hour away to go to my market that I'm at. The reason for that is because I'm constantly changing. I'm constantly adding new items to my list. So I can have repeat customers because my customers know that every single time they come to my table, it's not going to be the same however many items I had at the last market. I'm going to have, like I said, maybe 5 new patterns. Like, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be like me bringing 15 new patterns to some of these markets, but 2, 3, 4, 5, that alone will set you apart from who you were the last market you went to in your competition. Like, I think that's one of those things you have to think about. Crochet is becoming what I would say super common at markets. I hear customers talk about it all the time. They tell me, well, everyone does crochet nowadays, why should we buy anything from you, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, fair. Everyone, it is a lot more popular than it used to be, but this is how you can stand out. Try new patterns. Constantly evolve. Don't be stagnant. You gotta do what you can to separate yourself from other people, and it does not need to be from cutting your prices down. It can be as simple as, look, constantly evolve. I'm constantly trying new things. If somebody asks me and they go, hey Carri, do you have this particular animal? And I'm like, no, I don't. You know what? I'm gonna keep that in mind. If I get asked about it a second time, it's on my next list for the market. Simple things like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little bit more on the business maybe side of how I run things, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and not certain, I think this will be day 9 of Vlogmas. But I do have quite a few more like business particular style videos that I am planning on doing, so look forward to that, I guess. But I just have to, it involves like a lot more scripting and stuff that I need to sit down and actually commit myself to do, but I've had no time to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of the day, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.